Namaste and welcome to another edition of the Bharatvaarta Weekly. I'm Roshan Karyappa. I have with me Abhishek Paul and Neerav Kanodra to run you through the news and events of the week that was. If there was one operating keyword for the week, I guess you could say the word was Babudam, right? And we'll talk about a few of these decisions that have been made last week. On Thursday, the government announced a 20% TCS on international credit card transactions. The government said the TCS was being introduced to widen the tax base and to curb the use of credit cards for illegal activities. It was later clarified that transactions amounting to more than 7 lakh per annum will be subject to the new TCS rules. Nirav, there's been plenty of brouhaha on this. Obviously, people saying that this will just add needless complication and that it's just tax harassment and so on.
Oh, yeah, so one is what I see happening is probably people will spend less by credit cards and spend more by cash. So they'll convert in cash, right? So that is one. Two is, see, the government wants to widen the tax base. And the way to do it may be multiple. But, like, first of all, we need to see that income tax starts only from rupees 10 lakh onwards, right? And our per capita GDP is at about $2,500. So it's about 2 lakh rupees per person. So as it is expected that given on an average the country is a poor country, a low income country, or you'd say a lower middle income country, our tax to GDP compared to our peers is not too bad. We should see, the thing is, we are comparing with countries which are already developed countries with $50,000-$60,000 per capita GDP. We are comparing to the US for the wrong reasons, I think. So that should be one. Second is, maybe there could be requirements of, you could have credit card companies or banks who issue credit cards have the PAN card details, and for say over 7 lakh, if you are spending, maybe it goes into scrutiny. What it hits a person who either is probably like a retired salaried employee going on a foreign tour for the first time, booking a travel package, 2-3 lakh rupees, and then for a couple, and then maybe just crossing that over, and then for 7 lakhs expenditure, you spend 20% more, 1.4 lakhs, which you can get it back a year or probably 2 years later, because in the next tax return you file, then by the time you get it back, right? And if you're salaried, your tax is deducted at source anyways, right? So I think this is, maybe you have to look at the cost and benefit analysis, and here probably I would lean against the government that there could be other ways to try and broaden the tax net. And this is that maybe 2-3% of the people who are traveling abroad and spending in this much money are avoiding taxes, but to collect that you're harassing the other 98%, right? So I think this is kind of like, maybe sometimes the cost of policing this is more than actually the gain you get from it. But see, finally, tax rules are tax rules. A lot of times, always they say that tax rules are irrational in every place. It is just whatever the tax rules are, obey and move ahead. And I think that is what is going to happen. Maybe what might happen at the margin is people will avoid traveling abroad and maybe travel more domestically. This will particularly hit a lot of IT companies, or like companies who are sending consultants on like projects, and there they're spending by corporate credit card. So it increases the cost of doing business for a lot of legitimate businesses, and it kind of makes a bit difficult for people who are already avoiding paying taxes, and those guys might just use cash. They might transfer money through other things. There's always, like, either like for criminal activities there could be hawala networks or other ways you can circumvent, right? Or people will have like an offshore bank account and use that one. But what this does is, it makes legitimate activities more expensive. And anyways, the people who are paying taxes are, it is just you're trying and paying something upfront and getting the credit back later, which probably is a bit too much. Even the 7 lakh threshold, what they've mentioned, is probably good enough for like a large chunk of the people. But then it is the big taxpayers who are maybe spending more than that, right?
It also impacts the folks who are going there for
Yes,
education and
yes.
so
The
on.
other
There's a
one, the other one
significant
is
number of
people going in for education makes their education 20% more expensive. When you take like a loan for education, I think the college fees are there, but like living expenses, and in some of the Western countries where hostel accommodation isn't subsidized like the way it is in India, and the bureaucrats are thinking more from an Indian lens. but sometimes off-campus education accommodation is actually cheaper. You could share with people an apartment and like live in a cheaper manner. In such cases, those things are not covered, and those living expenses will be subject to all of this 20% additional tax. And this is just, I would say, in my opinion, without studying it too much in detail, I feel that the cost to the society is more than the benefit you get. There are other ways of doing it. We have a very good PAN system, have a PAN number, maybe scrutinize their other accounts, etc. And I think that is a better way, but it is what it is. And if tax rules are such, you have to comply with the law of the land and just do it that way.
Yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying. All right. The RBI on May 19th announced that it is withdrawing rupees 2000 notes from circulation. The RBI has instructed banks to stop issuing these notes, but they will still be legal tender until September 30th, 2023. To quote, in pursuance of the clean note policy of the Reserve Bank of India, it has been decided to withdraw the rupees 2000 denomination bank notes from circulation, the RBI said. Well, I mean, the 2000 notes came into circulation sometime post demonetization, right, when large amounts of money could be exchanged when the notes were in short supply. As of now, I think you would have about 10% of the total notes in circulation are 2000 rupee notes. So while some folks have called it a second sort of a demonetization, I think the difference is stark actually, right? And there is 4 months for people to actually exchange these notes. Now, there are many reasons why I think this has been done. One of the prime reasons people say is that over 60% of the fake currency that is found is, in 2000 rupee notes, right, as is expected, which is logical, right? And also that I think 500 and 100, 1000 rupee notes will be introduced in greater numbers to sort of counter this, right? Nirav, what is this clean note policy? And I suppose this was inevitable at some point of time, right? Do you see like a major drawback
No,
from
so
this?
see, even the experiment of demonetization, it saw not a lot of gain or the eventual number what they expected, right? And it created a little bit of friction for a lot of people involved in between. So I think similarly, yes, you could say that there are a lot of people who have either like it's 1.6% of the notes outstanding in number and 10% in value, or 10 point something percent in value, and it is valid till 30th September. Probably it will continue to be legal tender. The other thing is that 20,000 rupees per day per person can be exchanged without any questions asked, etc. So I think this one, it's just creating a lot more hassle for a lot of people. I think yes, maybe if there are a lot of fake currencies in circulation and all of that could be a problem. That is something to think about. But we are getting into a phase either within the government or within the bureaucracy or within the Reserve Bank where maybe the cost of doing things is not considered to versus the benefit. I think sometimes the cost of catching all fake notes could be much higher than like living sadly with like a few fake notes in circulation. And maybe the to catch it, other methods or something should be used. This kind of creates uncertainty in people's mind. It creates a lot of other sort of issues, which is actually detrimental to growth in the long term. What you want is like a stability in policy, a stability in like so people can take risk, think a longer term, and not be hassled by these small issues. Again, the rule of the land is the rule of the land. So whatever you have to deal with it. There's a little more clarity needed that whether will it be legal tender post 30th of September or no. People have enough time to either deposit in their bank accounts or change it, and but all of these things actually I feel creates a little more uncertainty for people. Even demonetization as an experiment, there are various things to say, but I don't think it achieved what were the stated objectives. Maybe there were some unstated objectives, etc. And maybe a lot of times in India they say, right, good economics is not good politics, and good politics could be in bad economics. So maybe this is a signal to show that, oh, we are against black money or we are against corruption, and a large chunk of the voter base buys into it, and then maybe it is that. But I would still say that these could be avoided or could be better designed. I am not too sure. So here again, there are some benefits, you've outlined them, and there are some costs. There is friction in the system, there's a little bit of uncertainty, and there are things like, say somebody wants to, a small harmless bet between friends, and you don't want to put it up on UPI, or somebody who smokes a cigarette or something of that sort doesn't want it to come out on UPI for, say, the person's spouse to know. Yeah, while it is legal, I'm not saying that you should do one thing or another. Cash gives you anonymity. Cash gives you a little bit of anonymity to do things, and we live in a free society. So I think a few of those things, it is nobody else's business, and this kind of petty cash transactions will remain. They do in all countries. We need not be in a place where everything is mentioned online, etc., right? Or everything has to have a record and a ledger. Anyways, as in, there could be criminal activities which I don't want to tell other people. If I bunk school or if I bunk college and go watch a movie, if I would pay cash, it is anonymous. But if I paid by UPI, maybe my parents could see the statement and see it, right? And so, yeah, exactly. Cash has some value, and we don't want traceability. So I'm not into like the 100% using UPI. Cash has its value, and maybe a little bit of uncertainty could be avoided without all these like kind of drastic changes. But again, whatever the laws are passed, we all have to follow rules of the land and comply by it. We may not like them, but we have to live with it. And I don't know, maybe better sense prevails. See, the people taking the decisions, they see things from a different angle. Maybe I am seeing at things from like my own angle, right? And so we all have our vantage points, we have all our viewpoints and biases. But this is like another move which probably I would not be very happy for. Like I wouldn't be rooting for it.